Okay. I'm gonna try and explain this. So, my partner told me that I should make a video about this. Here. I think that's probably in focus. My idea was to make it as streamlined and simple as possible because I use it mainly to shoot videos of my daughter and my family. I'm a hobbyist, videographer. That's my water. Well, it's the kettle saying that there's no water in there. So I figured I could do like a little breakdown of this and show you maybe in more detail. I'll add some clips in post, I guess, talking over. Well, me doing like a voiceover as this thing is shown. Here, you can kind of see it pretty well here. I'll do that. So it sits perfectly flush. This is the 6700 from Sony. The lens is irrelevant. I'll just put that up there for now. So, here, I'm going to break it down, and then I'll just kind of walk through it. So, I don't know if this is even buildable by anybody else, to be completely honest, because I use a lot of components that are kind of mix-matched from different sets of things that I've gotten. Because I like to make things out of other things. It's kind of my jam. Alright, so take the battery off. Take this off. Not recommended, but I'm lazy. So, don't really want to take the rest of this apart just because it's kind of a pain in the ass. But, essentially, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch lenses to an autofocus lens. That'll help. Okay, apologies. This is the only autofocus lens I currently have. So you're just going to be pretty close to my hands here. That's probably a little better. So, this is kind of the core component here. We've got a 1" by 4.5" cam vat cheese plate, which is nice because it has these like inset sections, which I'm using to flush mount the camera, and the other cheese plate, which is a, I don't know, like 2.5 by 4" plate that has 3 bottom holes that I can do these 1/4" screws into. And then on the back of it, which, no, I need to take this off because I'm not even using it anymore. I've mounted a V-mount plate, or a V-mount bracket, looks like connector. So there's a connector here, and I've mounted that into this plate. And honestly, this plate is pretty good for this, but I bet that there's a better one. It has the same kind of insets, and while nice for mounting this top plate, it makes finding like center holes really hard because this one goes right through that. So if you can find one that doesn't have those or just has the top one, that would be better. The next key component here is this 1/2 inch by 4 inch top bracket. And it doesn't need to be this long. It could be just as wide as the other one if you can find one. And that connects to this cheese plate. So you have one going across, one going up, and then one going up. And this can go either way. It actually doesn't matter. And so those are just all connected to one another. On top, we have the Tilta Cold Shoe NATO rail. I don't know if this is necessary or not. You could just use a NATO rail. Or a small NATO rail for your monitor or your handle, and a just a 1/4 inch into this bottom plate. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll take off the like twisty knob things that come on these, and I'll just put my own on. This is tightening washers for a cold shoe adapter. I don't actually know where this little cap thing came from. I have this articulating NATO to 1/4 inch arm on top. I'm not quite sold on this. I'm still playing with it. I'll show you why I got it. And, you know, this might be necessary or not, depending on what microphone you have and kind of how you want to mount that. But for a long time, I replaced this with just a mounted handle on top. And then, obviously, you know, the monitor coming up here. Which I might go back to, but honestly, I bought this mic first, and I don't want to return it. Another kind of interesting connection is this guy here. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, so it's connected into the bottom of the 1/2 inch by 5 inch plate via this big old 1/4 inch. It's nice. This went to the Tilta follow focus. This, or no, is it Tilta? Yeah, it's Tilta. What this lets me do is it lets me put a rod in here and connect a NATO rail to it going backwards, like so. It's kind of hard to do when demonstrating, but there we go. So it's flush on this side of the camera. And this is just an extra mounting point so that I can attach a handle to it if I want, and have like an extra place to grip. I can attach a follow focus. So that's this kind of key component. And that's really the build, is like this thing makes everything work. So I got my cords. I just have like an adapter for a micro to an HDMI. If you have like the FX3 or 30, you can just go HDMI in. I found this super thin HDMI cord on Amazon, which is great. And then I just have a dummy battery. Essentially, this all goes here. I kind of just sandwich that in there as tight as I can. And I'll only squish the cords in afterwards, but I think I could get them on this go. Screw goes into the top. Beep boop, beep boop, beep boop. And the screw goes into there. And what's nice about this is it lets you double tap them in so that they're not like wobbling all over the place. For a long time I had it set up so it was mounting directly to the Arcus Swiss plate. But the problem was that it kept spinning around on me, and that was not ideal because it meant that things weren't all lined up. So when I was pointing something, it wasn't pointing where I wanted it to point. But this way, everything kind of self-aligns, just gets its 2 points of contact per the camera and for the back plate. It's a lot of it is forced in. not for consideration of the cost of the objects that I'm working with, which, whether or not I had the money to do it, I would still treat the objects that way. I don't know why I don't really value things the way maybe I should. Probably something to do with my childhood. Let's see. So, monitor's on. Attach that. I've got USB-C, and then I got these really nice little C right-angled adapters. It just lets you get things so they're not sticking out. They're sitting kind of to the side, which I like a lot more. It just makes things a little more flush. I have one for the HDMI, but it's bigger than the HDMI is sticking out. So, I'm not using that. Then these cords can just go here. What's unfortunate is that this sits exactly in line with the like little disconnect for the battery plate. So it unfortunately makes it hard to disconnect the battery. If you could find something that's like a shorter, front attached rail system, then I would do that. Tightening these guys on, and that's the build. It's very simple. I'm using like the small rig bottom plate, which is nice because I can attach the HDMI just a bit more snug and secure. I got rid of the cage because I felt like it was too heavy. But now that I've kind of basically added a bunch of weight through all this other stuff, I think it's probably the same weight at the end of the day. The only thing left to do is to connect this guy. So this just slots in. Oops. And you have to lift the camera up to have it go below there. Then this comes in here. And I just push the camera down again, and that locks it in. So now, the nice thing is I tighten this guy first, then this. And that way it can turn with it. Here she is. So, tighten you. And you can tell this is, again, just a screw that I had laying around to replace the ratchet thing so it wasn't so big. And there's that. And then I put it there, and I tighten you. And now, she's not going to move. Keeps that all flush. And I can slide on a handle. Oop. Tighten that. Oh. Now I have like a nice, super compact, very lightweight system. And I can just take a lens here and beep boop. Attach that on there. And now, got a nice, super compact cinema camera, or cinema-ish camera. And so I'm using the articulating arm is because the clearance on the microphone would have to stand straight up if I used any other attachment. And so I figured I could use the articulating arm. So I could spin it around, have it go down like that, and kind of get it so it's even more kind of compact. But I'm not quite sold. I might be able to do something similar with just like one of these guys, but I don't have like a NATO version of it. So something to think about. If you want to follow focus, you'll have to use a bigger arm. And again, I replaced the little ratchet thing with just a little knob I had laying around. I'm sure you could find them online. But this just lets me tighten it by hand a bit, and then with a little screwdriver, so that's situated. And then follow focus. Here, I can just plop that there. And then I use these right angle adapters to kind of create a little, square thing to attach so that it goes a bit like that. See? And then this comes back here. I just have a USB-C to 8-volt. Then I put a little NATO rail on the top of the handle, and that guy just sits right on top. Beep boop. And bam. Tight, compact, modular. Wow. Let me switch this lens back. I put I just woke up too, hence the way I look. And I'm trying not to be insecure about how I appear to other people, so this is test 1. Okay, bye!